Hello and welcome to the Con Couple. I'm Richard,
I'm Caroline.
and we go to a terrifying number of cons in a year.
I would say that we would go to too few, but I didn't mess up the intro this time because it's the first one of the year, technically.
It is technically the first one of the year. We're still trying to figure out how exactly this particular event counts in terms of whether it's a 2025 event or a 2026 event.
I'm not sure the numbers matter all that much to anyone but us.
No,
so.
that's fair.
But we were technically there in 2026.
We were indeed there in 2026.
And we already have the next con booked for 2026.
Yep.
At least in theory.
It's next week.
Because we're insane.
Completely bonkers. So, where were we this? I would say this weekend, but it's not actually the weekend.
Yeah, it is Friday, which is a bit. We're still in that between Christmas and New Year. Technically, I think it's the 2nd, so it's after New Year's now that we're recording this. We're in that weird time period where you can't remember what day of the week it is. So it's technically Friday, and this was a weekday con because it was a con that was meant to celebrate New Year's.
Yep.
Sort of.
So, specifically, this was New Year's Furry Ball, or NYFB.
NYFB, and furries have way too many acronyms.
And they all include an F somewhere. It's
Yeah.
really annoying.
There's a couple that use anthro, but for the most part, they have an F in them, and it's very confusing.
But yeah, so this was an interesting event.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say so. Apparently, in past years, it's pretty much been a one-day job. It's
Yeah.
been a single day, New Year's Eve specifically, get together, have a big party, see you in the new year together.
Mm-hmm.
Great. This year they've expanded it, so it started. Well, theoretically there was some like minor stuff going on the 29th. Then the 30th and the 31st were when like the main con days were, and there was also some stuff going on the 1st insofar as there was breakfast available.
Yeah. So I think this was their kind of push to make it more of a con officially. So it was, they report that it was originally called Room Con, basically, or there are smaller furry events, some of which are invite only, where you're effectively in a hotel and using the space and hanging out with each other, but there's not really an official programming that happens. And there are some furry cons I know that are off books that aren't open to the public. This is, but I think it was originally just a group of furries getting together on New Year's and renting hotels like a lot of people do, so they can drink and not drive, responsible, which is great.
Valid choice.
But this year they seem to want to promote it as more of a convention, I think, officially.
Yes. So they had paneling for the first time, which we appreciate.
Yeah, keep in mind, a lot of this information was told to us at the con, and I can't really verify it because a lot of people were drunk or taking substances that are legal in that state. So this is kind of, I think, more of just the sense we got is this is the first time that they've done more official paneling programming and stuff like that.
Yes, we should probably specify which state we were in and which state we're currently driving through.
Well, we're in. Why do we need to say what driving state we're in?
I don't know. So the con itself was in Delaware.
The third state.
Yep.
Which that's what they say.
Yep, that's their. I think that's their organization, isn't it?
Well, I was about to explain where Delaware was, and then I realized I didn't actually need to do that because most of our audience is actually from the U.S.
Yeah, like me.
Yep.
So again, you said, "Hey, do you want to go to a con in Delaware?" And I was like, "Okay, where's that?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was one where we actually drove down on Monday.
Yep.
Which wasn't the original plan. We ended up moving some stuff around. Long story, but so we came down on Monday, which did mean we could go to everything starting from Tuesday, which was this con's like day one.
Yeah, it is a 2-day convention, which is a bit weird, but
2.5.
Because the drive is, I think, 6 hours ish for us if we're just going directly, and sometimes we do stop.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to not rush down there, so we can make opening ceremonies and stuff like that.
Yeah. We could theoretically have made opening ceremonies at midday if we'd got up at 5 a.m.
Which we probably were not going to do.
Yeah. We have done it before
Yep.
for certain conventions, but I don't think we were planning to do it for this one. Yeah, so we ended up rejiggering our plans. And, again, joys of things getting a bit hazy around the Christmas break.
Yeah. It's kind of chaotic, and as you can tell, we're probably both a little tired this episode because we're at that post-Christmas haze period.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we've done a lot of stuff in the past couple of weeks, because for one thing, my parents came to visit, which was nice.
And they just left, I think, the day before. Actually, the day we drove down to the con.
Yep. Yeah, they left on the Monday, and we got on the road like 2 hours after they left.
Yep.
And they apparently had a real fun time getting home, but this isn't the complaining about international flights we weren't personally on podcast, so we'll leave that statement there. But they made it home safe, I will say.
I will say our 2026 goal is to, I think, just do more cons than we did in 2025.
We did so many cons in 2025.
Yeah, I know. That's why we have to keep increasing it every year. I'm really excited to once we get past the 50 con mark, and then we've got to figure out a way to somehow do more.
That's the point at which we will need to actually be making money off this podcast.
Yeah. Well, this is the issue, and I was talking about it to a few people. There's a lot of cons that aren't within our driving distance bubble. Because realistically, I think the most we can possibly do is 8, and that's painful. So, 7's bad enough.
Yeah. 7's doable, with the right, correct stops in correct places, but it's a lot.
It is. We need to fill the content, honey.
So, this particular event, should we talk about the hotel?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was held at the Doubletree in, what the heck's the name of the city?
Wilmington.
Wilmington, thank you. Yeah, the Doubletree in Wilmington. And this hotel was okay. I'm going to be honest, part of the reason we wanted to go to this event is that in past years it's been held in this hotel that had a big atrium.
Yeah.
So you would have a space to just sit and watch a bunch of interesting people go by, and at midnight, everyone would be kind of out on balconies in their big atrium and cheering and shouting and doing the countdown together. That sounded great. Yeah, they moved hotels this year.
Yeah. I think because they wanted to do more panel programming and events and stuff like that, and wanted a slightly bigger space for those things. So this had at least some space for programming, but I will say, as people who weren't staying in the hotel, it was pretty cramped, and other types of conventions, even small ones, typically have places you can just kind of go to sit down if you're not staying at the hotel. We aren't, but here I think the assumption was just everyone would be staying at the hotel or know somebody staying at the hotel, so there weren't really any spaces we could go.
Yes, so in terms of what they had a main event space. They had a headless lounge, which we did not go in as per usual, because again, neither of us fursuit, so we don't go in headless lounges. Then in there, they also had their vendors hall. Then in the downstairs section, they had a panel room, their board game and video game room, which they kind of split in half with a screen. Worked fine. And they did have a chill room as well. Yeah,
which had, I think, crafts and stuff like that, and was probably a place that was quieter con-rise, but we didn't go into much over the weekend. I suspect it was probably pretty crowded for most of the con, too.
And then one of the other rooms down there was their registration area.
Yep.
Which, I will say this for their reg staff. Their reg staff were pretty efficient. I don't think I saw a queue all weekend.
Yep, they did have lines to prepare for one, but we didn't see any of the times we arrived. We also didn't enter the queue because this con had the option to mail in badges. Because it had the option to mail in badges, you could just obviously just get your badges mailed to you, which is the option I did because we'd never been to this con. I didn't know if there was going to be a line or not, and it was a $5 upcharge, which isn't much at all. Also, you were too close to the right of this lane.
Better?
Yeah.
Now it's complaining I'm too far to the left.
Fine, whatever.
So yeah, anyway. As I was saying, we got our badges mailed to us. They arrived, a week ago?
Yeah.
So they've just been sitting on the kitchen table for a week, 2 weeks, which is fine. I wasn't allowed to look at mine because, of course, you'd done something stupid to it again.
Well, you could have looked at it. You said the rule to not look at it for yourself.
Yeah, it's more fun to wait until the day of the con to actually find out what you put on my badge.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that system did actually work pretty well for them because I did not see any significant lines for registration the entire weekend or the entire period.
And yeah,
I'm going to keep making that mistake just to warn you all.
That's fair. And yeah, it was a system that I actually prefer that a lot of cons do. I'd happily pay, I think, $5 for pretty much any con to avoid registration lines at all. And it makes it easier to space out badges and stuff like that.
Yeah, honestly, the only thing I would say that would be nice on that front is they got mailed as 2 separate packages. It would be nice if you're buying multiple tickets at once, which I'm assuming you did, if they could just send them in one packet.
Well, this is part of the problem. I can't remember if this system let me purchase together, but a lot of, for whatever reason, I suspect I actually know the answer, and I suspect the answer involves Nazis. Most of the furry ticketing systems, just so they built themselves, don't actually let you buy tickets for other people very easily. Like, I can register an account, and I can buy a ticket for myself on that account with that email address, but the systems seem to not be able to let you, despite claiming that they can, let you buy a second ticket on one account, which I suspect is so people aren't buying tickets for people who are banned from various conventions, which,
Yeah.
fair. It is mildly annoying, though.
Yeah. But yeah.
So that's, I think, part of why they had to come in separate packages.
Yeah. And again, like, the separate packaging was, fine. It's
They
not
arrived
really-
at the same time, so.
Yeah, they did. Like, they clearly got mailed out on the same day.
Yeah.
So again, wasn't a major problem. It's just, would have been mildly more convenient.
Mm.
But yeah. So what was the? So yeah. So the hotel itself was okay.
Mm.
For like most of the convention, there was just about enough room to squeeze around. Like, most of the rooms were busy, but not like wall to wall packed.
And keep in mind, as you might know, for those of you who attend furry conventions a lot, we don't tend to do the late night stuff that much, just because electronic dance music is not our thing, and that's pretty much the only thing they play.
Yep.
I know some furry cons do have like chill dances, but the chill dances are always earlier in the evenings and like end at like 9 at the latest. I will admit, like, given that furry cons have 3 or 4 dances just regularly, I do kind of wish that like one of the late night dances was music I actually liked, but not everything should be catered to me personally.
Yeah. Again, we're not EDM folks, and that's fine. Yeah. So, generally speaking, the hotel, I think, was kind of borderline in terms of being suitable for this event. In particular, I did feel like the actual midnight call was a little disappointing. Because while everybody was as packed in as they could in the same areas, one, it meant it was pretty crammed, and two, it did mean that you didn't quite get the communal sense of it. I didn't feel.
Well, yeah, we'd seen pictures from previous years, and the con, I think you mentioned, had that atrium look where you could look up at all the floors and see people on all the different levels out of their rooms. And I imagine at midnight that is an amazing experience, because you can watch people all out on the balcony, which goes down to the bottom floor, just celebrating while people on the bottom floor. Like, that sounds amazing, and it was honestly why I booked the tickets for the con. And then I found out that this building didn't have that, so.
Yep. So yeah, again, I think changing that, making that change has been a bit of a two-edged sword for them. It did mean they could put on some panels, which I think was a good thing. But I think you're very much butting up against the absolute limit of what this particular venue can take. Like, if you want to expand this event any further, you're gonna need a different venue again. And I know that's a pain in the neck.
And as we've talked about before in this podcast, we know that venues are difficult generally. Like, no one sees, oh, this is the perfect venue, and then chooses something else that's not that. It's a matter of what's available, what you're going to pay, how much it's going to cost, and stuff like that. And I do imagine that, particularly for New Year's Eve, which is a time when a lot of hotels are booked, it's probably more expensive to book anywhere.
Yeah. And again, furries are a very interesting group in terms of, you guys have a bit of a reputation. I don't think it's fair, and generally speaking, the hotels you work with tend to really like you. But I do understand that it makes getting your anthropomorphized foot in the door a little bit harder than it is for certain other types of events.
That said, the staff at this con were very excited about this event.
Oh yeah, the staff at the hotel were just so happy to be hosting this. You got pictures with at least 2 of the
2 or 3. They were so excited. They were talking to the furries the entire time, and they were just having so much fun. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think they were getting a little overwhelmed by midnight on.
Yeah. The hotel did seem very accommodating, and they seemed like a good working relationship. So that was good, I think, generally. And parking. Well, we probably shouldn't. So when do you want to shift to chronological stuff?
We can talk parking, and then I'll probably talk food availability, and then we can do chronological.
Okay.
So, parking at this particular hotel, there was basically a front lot, which was full basically the entire time we were there. A back lot, which was just behind the hotel, and there was a pretty easy egress point into the lower floor. That was fine. And then they also had overflow parking, which was the mall car park next door.
Yeah, the theme of this convention was like mall spree, or it was mall themed, and I think that's because the hotel was next to a largely abandoned mall that we went in after the con was over.
Yeah.
I don't think we realized how quite abandoned it was.
Yeah, so specifically the overflow car park was the car park outside the Sears, which is just completely closed. And I do genuinely wonder if any furries tried to break into it. For the record, I have zero evidence that anybody did. It just wouldn't surprise me to find out that it happened. But yeah, so between those 3 parking areas, there was plenty of parking, and it was free.
Yeah.
It mostly just, depending on whether you got the front lot, the back lot, or the overflow lot, just determined how far you had to walk. And even if you were at the far end of the overflow lot, it was still like a couple of minutes walk to the door.
And it's free, so no complaints there.
Exactly. That's perfectly acceptable. Like, it was ridiculously cold, but that's not their fault.
Yeah, it was weird because we had to, if you're in our part of the country, you probably remember that we had a ridiculously warm Christmas this year.
Yep.
And then the Monday we drove down, it was starting to get cold again, and now it's just been steadily cold again.
Yep. Which was hilarious because it meant that basically it was nice and, it was around like 60 to 70 degrees every day my parents were here, and as soon as they left, it dropped back down to 30. They are, of course, taking credit for that.
Yep.
Because that is the classic British person's joke.
Could have brought them to this con.
They are not ready for a fur con.
And we took them to a gay LGBTQ thing, which we might talk about at this end as a bonus content thing at the end of this podcast, because we have a 4-hour drive ahead of us still, and we're bored.
And we're bored.
But that was like, they were surprised they had fun at that. I don't think they would have fun at a free con if we like eased them into it.
Again, if we want to start getting my parents to go to cons, I genuinely suggest starting them with something like Starbase Indy.
No, let's start them with AnthroCon.
No. Bad. No.
It is one of those things where, like, because our friend, we also went to Delaware to visit our friend, probably also talk a little bit about that. But they were asking us, like, are you guys furries? And we're like, we just attend furry conventions. I don't really, like, I don't know at what point attending furry conventions, despite not really having an affinity with anthropomorphic animals, other than just kind of like, hey, they look kind of cool in a vague sense, makes you a furry, so.
Again, I adore the artistry of fursuits.
I do too. Like, it's very cool to see.
I have no desire to wear one, mostly because, like, I don't like being overly hot, and I like being able to, having my full range of vision.
Oh, I have some news for you.
Oh, God.
It's mostly just, I was looking at costumes because I have a new yellow gown I was wearing, which would be perfect for Beauty and the Beast. So I was looking at these costumes, and there actually is a reasonably priced one that looks halfway decent. It's just, I'm almost nervous about buying it because it's like, $100-ish, which for a costume is cheap.
Yeah, I'm curious to know if that's the same one that one of my colleagues was wearing.
I suspect it is.
Yeah. If it is, it doesn't look as good in person, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I would believe that generally.
But yeah.
But, like, I just worry the furries would kind of judge us.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't wear that to a fur con, but,
I mean, you just dress as Prince Adam, as lame as that is.
I mean, that is my vibe. Is that actually his name?
Yes.
Wow. He really does suck completely after the transformation, doesn't he?
Yeah, they knew what they were doing there.
Yeah. As you can see the disappointment in Belle's eyes after it transforms. Anyway.
So where were we?
We were talking about parking.
Yes. So yeah, closed parking, free. I don't think at any point during that time could you have not found parking.
No. Okay. We'll tell you one thing we did at one point.
Yeah.
The parking lot.
Honestly, this should just be a panel. If you want us to host this panel at a FurryCon,
we will. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So, in terms of food over the weekend, there was a restaurant at the hotel. We did not use it at any point because it had 2 modes, closed and completely chocker with furries. I think it was, I'm honestly not sure to what extent it was even open because I only saw it open like a couple of times. So I think it was probably doing like dinner service effectively.
Yeah.
And I suspect that was only for hotel guests. So, but then there was, like throughout the weekend, there were a number of times when they basically just set out like snacks, nibbles, and like little buffet things that were available to all attendees. I have no idea what the quality of that was like because I couldn't get goddamn close to the tables at any point.
Yeah, furries love free food.
Yep. Which I can respect. I
Yeah.
also love free food.
So yeah, it was just completely crowded, so we didn't bother with that. So we can't really review the food, I think, at this con.
Yep. They did also have alcoholic beverages as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just basic cash bar stuff. Looked to be the standard selection.
Yeah, I do think they had free champagne around midnight, but it was difficult for us to verify.
That they did. I saw the table with it, but again, couldn't get close to it.
Yep. And yeah, I will say space was very cramped at points, so going between spaces was hard.
Yeah. Especially given that you were once again in a ball gown.
Yeah.
You don't know how to do anything by half.
Well, ball gowns are fun.
They are. And again, I'll give you this. You at least went with, like, slightly maneuverable ones.
Mm-hmm. Slightly.
Slightly. You also went with ones that are easier to transport, because these three all have bags, which does make them fit in the car easier.
Yeah, well, I bought more garment bags, so hopefully we can start putting more in them.
Yep. Organizing your closet is one of our jobs for the new year.
Yep. And if anyone's asking, I don't think we have any official New Year's resolutions other than,
Make it to the next one.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one.
Yep.
So we drove down the night before. We couldn't get the same, because we changed plans, we couldn't get the same Airbnb, so we went to a different Airbnb. It was kind of a bit more to the south of it, not as close. I was proud of the fact that the Airbnb we did wind up getting was 7 minutes away from the con, though.
Yeah.
That was nice.
The Airbnb we were staying at most of the time was 7 minutes away. This one was about 40 minutes away.
And generally, I do think I care more about it being close when I know parking is free, because if it's just like, if it's parking where you have to spend money, typically you don't have in and out privileges, so you're just going to be staying at the con, so it doesn't really matter for the most part how far the drive is, because you're only going to make that drive once.
Yeah.
This con, we did go back and forth a couple times, so I'm glad that we chose to do that.
Yeah, I'm glad we had that Airbnb that was close enough that we could, there was at least one occasion where we basically just popped back, got changed, and then went back to the con.
Yeah. And both of the Airbnbs were, like most Airbnbs, clearly condemned buildings that people did a kind of shitty job renovating.
Yep. The first one was better in that regard than the second one, I think.
The first one didn't have a wall around the bedroom.
Okay, well, it did. It's just the wall didn't go all the way up to the ceiling, which meant that
There was no
soundproof.
soundproofing whatsoever.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, we sleep separately and don't wake up at the same time, so that created a little bit of issue.
Yeah, I was having to be real quiet when I woke up because you were trying to get like an extra 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Same goes for when you would go to bed, because I go to bed, and then 2 hours after I go to bed, you go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how our schedule works, and it works for us.
Well, it says something that at one point you're because sometimes when you're not around and something is a minor annoyance, I'll say your name because I'll think, oh, this is a situation that's going to take me more than a second to solve. Richard, I should get his help. And I didn't actually need your help, but you heard me say your name.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to find what drawer the spoons were in, which I could have figured out myself, but
yep.
I was just kind of absent-mindedly saying your name, and then I did not mean to wake you up.
Which again, I actually came out and was like, oh, hey, what do you need? What do you need? Because again, I freely admit I've been a little on edge recently, just with,
Yeah, if you, I think, listened to any of the recent episodes, we're dealing with some health stuff right now, and that's still continued to be ongoing.
Yep.
It's safe, but it's been rough, and it's probably going to still be rough for a bit.
Yeah, we are getting through it, but it's, again, I'm honestly very glad I had these weeks off from work, just in terms, because it's the Christmas break, because trying to split myself between, you and work,
Mm-hmm.
one, I know work is going to lose that fight immediately, but again, it always makes me feel guilty, so
So yeah, the first Airbnb was fine-ish.
It did have a colony of feral
I was about to
cats
mention the
living out
colony
back.
of feral cats. Yeah.
They were great.
So yeah, it was the first cold day in a while when we got there. So the feral cats liked sitting by the glass door in the back, probably because they could get heat off the house if they sat there, and they fought over who got to sit there.
Yeah.
There were
adorable.
at least 6 of them.
Again, it wasn't all 6 there at once. There was basically 2 or 3 that were hanging out a fair bit, and then another 3 or so that we saw.
And one of which kept meowing at us to give it food, which we did not have.
Or let it inside, which we weren't going to do because, again, Airbnb, not our space, etc., etc., etc. Also, it still had a Christmas tree up. And I'm 90% sure if we'd let the cat inside, that tree would not have still been up by the time we left.
Yeah. I'm sure that's why the cat wanted it inside.
Probably.
So stuff started midday, so we kind of woke up there, I think, for a while, and then we headed along to the con. We already had badges, which I will say also makes me stress out less if we have badges.
It is definitely a useful thing that I kind of wish more cons did. Like, I get why most of them don't, but it would be useful. Because I think so far it's this one and Gen Con are the only ones we've been to that have.
Yeah. There's a couple that like do early badge pickup, like some of the GalaxyCon brand stuff does early badge pickup, which is generally a great time to go if you want to skip the line, but that doesn't mean you typically have to be there a day early, and that's not always possible.
Yeah. Whereas again, if they're just mailing it to your house, that's great.
So at the time we got there, the parking lot was, I think, empty enough that we actually did get a spot in the front lot.
No.
Okay.
That was the previous night. So we actually swung by the hotel on our way to the Airbnb on Monday.
Yes.
That was when we got a spot in the front.
Yeah, there wasn't any official programming, but the games room and I think the comm room were open, and there were a few people like hanging out. We mostly just went to scope out the space because that would ease our anxiety a little bit about attending the con.
Yeah, and that was when we realized it was in a different hotel than last year.
Yep.
And we were a little disappointed.
Yeah.
Because again, I think we had been looking forward to that like atrium experience. But again, I get why they've made the change. It's mostly just a case of I can't figure out if it was for the better or not.
Yeah.
Without having gone to the previous events, it's hard to know.
And I get that there's compromise, right? If you did the atrium thing, you wouldn't be able to have as much panel programming, and we would also probably be complaining about that.
Yes.
So.
What, you mean you can't just find the perfect hotel in a relatively small state that has like a giant atrium and all the panel rooms you need and only costs half of what the current place does?
Yeah, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah, it's really disappointing.
That was sarcasm for those of you who have trouble with sarcasm.
Yeah. Again, we fully understand that one of the biggest limitations on a con is the space.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to work with what you've got. Some cons get real lucky, some cons don't. And that's okay.
Much like some of the people at the con.
Oh, some of the people at the con definitely got real lucky.
Yeah.
We have stories.
We do. Do we?
Well, not from this particular con, but we have stories from previous cons.
Uh-huh.
That we got told at this con. So anyway.
So we were actually a little bit late for opening. This was just a combination of like we forgot stuff at home because we packed in a hurry. It was my fault, I fully admit. I was having problems with makeup, which sometimes I just get anxiety with it. It took a while to get into the costume. We were doing unicorns this day because we haven't actually done Celestia and Luna in a bit, which is very fun. I got to put makeup on you, also very fun.
Yep. And again, we forgot the lipstick I normally wear for Luna, so we were using a different one.
Yeah. So we barely made it out of the Airbnb by 11.
11 o'clock checkout. I think I locked the door for the last time at like 10:58 or something like that.
And it was about a 30-minute drive, and we also stopped on the way because you wanted to show me geese because we like geese.
We like geese. Well, again, I noticed there were some geese, and there was a little like jetty wharf mini park thing just kind of around the corner. So I figured we'll go through there on the way out. It'll be cute. It'll perk us up a bit.
Yep.
And we saw some snow geese, which we've not seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are native to the Arctic area, but they fly down to this kind of area for their winter break.
So yeah, they were very, very rare, at least in our area. So I was happy we got to see them a couple times. They also clearly are used to being fed by people.
Yep. Well, they're cute.
They are very cute. I'm glad we got to see them. They're definitely, I didn't know they were a bucket list bird, but they were definitely a bucket list bird. So I'm just going to become Bill.
Bill is a friend of ours who's real into birds,
Yes.
also goats.
Nice.
And sheep.
Nice.
So yeah. So we got there at like 12:02, and I'll give this con this. Their opening ceremonies started on time.
Yeah, they were already started by the time we were in there.
Which is unusual. Like, we figured we'd get there 5 minutes late, and it would be fine because opening ceremonies we were running late, but no, on time.
Yep.
It's very unusual for a fur con. Opening ceremonies was, I'm not going to lie, extremely basic.
Yep. It was basically just going over stuff at the con, and it lasted about 10 minutes of just various announcements.
Yeah, by the con chair, which, again, perfectly fine. It's just, could have had a bit more pizzazz. A
little bit. I will say there weren't a lot of, quote-unquote, entertainer furries at this one, or people who are good at doing crowd work. We did see a couple people later, and that's not saying that other people aren't, but entertaining people is an art. It's hard to do or hard to manage, and I think as the con's expanding, they're probably still working on getting a crew that can do that sort of thing.
Yes. And again, it does take practice, is the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's not to say the person who was on stage couldn't do that. It was cool to see the conjure on stage just talking through stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Finding some ways to make it a bit more interesting, I think, would be fun.
Yeah. And a little longer.
Yeah.
Again, I think it nominally had an hour and a half time slot insofar as there was an hour and a half before the next thing in that room was due to start, and it lasted 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So, not making best use of the space with the best one in the world. So at that point, if memory serves, we kind of like, quickly, chugged various caffeine sources because you had a soda. And then, what do we do first? Was that just when we explored the space a bit more, or did we go to the game? No, we went to the games room, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we explored the space and then we went to the games room, which is, as he described earlier, a kind of half and half games room, which has half board games, half video games. So there was obviously a bunch of nosebleeds because there were just curtains up. I don't even know if you really needed the curtains, if I'm honest.
No, I would have just left it open personally. Have both doors open, sure, so that you can go into the video game side or into the board game side. That was a good call. But yeah, I don't think you needed the separation. I get why you had it, but there was sufficient nosebleed that it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the board gaming room itself basically had a moderate selection of board games. Nothing wasn't the biggest we've ever seen, but it was perfectly fine and functional for the size of the space. And it was just take a board game, go sit, play it. They only had 3 sort of kind of like standard round tables. Because again, not a massive amount of space, which did mean that it was pretty full most of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So we managed to snag a spot on at that first point, and we were still sharing a table at that point.
Yep.
Which I want to clarify: the people we were sharing the table with were lovely and did not. We asked, "Hey, do you mind if we grab these seats?" And they said, "No, that's fine." They were busy building Gundam miniatures.
Yeah. We talked with them a little bit. They commented that this was a largely, I think, local con, but a lot of people obviously get hotel rooms because you want to be able to drink in New Year's. Getting in a hotel room is the smart thing to do.
Yeah, one of them was commenting on the fact that he didn't have a hotel room that night because he only lived 10 minutes away.
I would use they, them just to be safe.
That's fair. But they did have a hotel for New Year's Eve itself so that they could drink heavily that night, not have to worry about getting themselves home, which is valid.
And I will say, I booked tickets to this event back at the end of November because that was the last date you could book and still have your badges mailed out, which I wanted to have done. I checked both the hotel room block and the hotel generally. They were completely sold out by the time. That was a month in advance.
Yeah, and based on what I could see, I think every room in the hotel was occupied by people going to this con.
Yep.
I didn't obviously knock on every door, but at one point we did do some exploring in the hotel just because we liked doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And there were furries coming in and out of rooms on every floor.
Mm-hmm.
So unless the room block was assigned in a really, really weird way, I think the entire hotel was furries.
Yeah. It is interesting because this is clearly, I think, a hotel that's had parts added onto it because we did some exploration of floors at the con just because it wasn't a lot of space and we needed to get away from people. So. And there are 3 different elevators, all of which lead to 3 different sections of the hotel, none of which you can get to from the other sections, at least not easily.
Yeah, it's basically if you want to go from the 5th floor of one section to the 5th floor of another, you're going to have to go down through the lobby or possibly the lower lobby and do it that way. Because there were multiple occasions where we found an elevator bank and we're like, where does this one lead?
Yeah, it was very confusing.
Yeah. Again, it's a perfectly functional hotel. It's just, I do think that space-wise, I don't think it's really designed to accommodate quite this many people.
Yeah.
So yeah, we played a bit of Azul. Had a nice chat with a few people. And then, what did we do at that point?
We went to GS Joust.
Yes. So, Joust, if you've not played it, is a game that uses PlayStation Move controllers. And the goal is to not move your controller too quick while getting the other people playing it to move at its speed.
Mm-hmm.
And music is playing in the background, and the faster the music is going, the faster you're allowed to move before it knocks you out. So the goal is to sort of, like, it's described as like a basketball level of contact sport, insofar as there will be some jostling, there will be some pushing, there will be some nudging, but like obviously nobody. If somebody gets hurt, then it's gone quite badly wrong.
Yeah.
So again, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fun.
It's a fun game to play at a con with people in ball gowns and fursuits, which is what wound up happening.
Yep.
Because I let you, I think, play the first round of this, and there's about, I think, 6 controllers total, right?
Yes. Yeah, I can do up to 6.
And yeah, there were a couple rounds, because we got there pretty early, that we played with a couple people before they got there. You played a couple rounds, and then we traded off, because I think there was about 8 to 10 people who were just kind of playing it for a bit.
Yep.
Which, again, was fun. And it is a contact game, which can be a little bit iffy at cons, and I could tell that, like, in a respectful way, like, I'm a very femme-presenting person, and there were people in the rooms who are, like, masculine-presenting persons, and they were, I think, especially at first, a little bit nervous to kind of touch me, just because the optics of that sometimes don't look great. That said, everyone was very respectful. Yeah.
And again, you were also wearing a giant ball gown that they didn't want to damage.
Yeah. So a combination of all those things. But there was definitely a round where it was me against somebody in a fursuit as the last 2 people, which was just kind of hilarious.
Yeah. You couldn't move terribly well. They couldn't see worth a damn.
Yeah. Great. And it's very fun because obviously the best thing to do in joust is typically there'll be 2 people kind of dueling and coming up behind and like snuffing one of their lights is very fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in terms of the amount of movement you can make, imagine that the controller is a candle.
Yep.
That's basically the easiest way to do it. Like, if you move it too quick, you're going to lose because the candle will blow out. It's that kind of like slow, steady motion and trying to get the other person to move enough to blow theirs out.
Yeah, we played it before, I think, at AnthroCon 2 years ago. It's a very fun game. Like, it was a contact game that I actually like. Because I don't tend to like games like this, I was actually having a lot of fun playing this.
Yeah.
It was very silly, very fun, very respectful.
Yep.
And I actually won one, which I was proud of.
You did. It was a well-earned victory. As opposed to the one where you just sniped me from behind while I was distracted.
Well, there's one I think I won just because it was me and another person who was just learning how to play, and they didn't know how to freeze at the music.
Yeah.
So I just won one because of that.
Yep. But yeah, again, perfectly fun little panel. And then at 2 o'clock, because this panel started at 1:30, I think it was running until 2:30.
Yeah.
But at 2 o'clock, most people left, and the guy running the panel was just like, the break or something, and my co-host Anders Hall just opened and went, ah.
So I will also point out that because registration opened at 2 o'clock at the same time, they said anything that was before 2 o'clock, you didn't actually need a badge to go to, which I appreciate.
Yeah, that was nice. Now, granted, looking around, I think a decent number of people had done what we done and had them mailed to them.
Yep.
Because probably about 2/3 of the people I saw at that time did have their badges already.
Yeah.
But it was nice to have that as an option if we needed it.
Yeah, and I will say this particular con in general, it's a little bit hard to tell who, like, there were a lot of guests, but I can't tell how many, like, registered attendees versus people who were just there were because of how confusing it kind of is. Because if you just wanted to, like, go to this con to party and attend room parties, you wouldn't need badges for that. You would just need it to get into the formal events or, like, the gaming space and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I suspect there were a lot of people who weren't actually officially attending the con, but they were going in an area they weren't allowed to go. They were just going to their friends' rooms, which is fine.
Yeah.
But it does mean, I'm sure it's a bit complicated for con numbers in terms of reporting.
Yeah. Like, my guess is we probably had, several hundred, verging on maybe 1,000 people at the absolute top end.
Yeah, but I don't know how many of those were registered attendees versus people who were just doing the room parties.
Yeah, hard to know. But again, So after that, we also toddled over to the vendors hall.
Yeah, just out of
sake of
idle curiosity. There were, like, a lot of free cons. It was a lot of artisanal stuff that people made, some handmade fursuits, some, like, art-drawn stickers, stuff like that.
Yep.
It was cute.
It was cute. We left fairly quickly, not because we didn't want to look at more stuff, just because, again, it was fairly crowded. Again, not the biggest room. And you were, of course, as we mentioned, in a ball gown.
Yeah. And it was a fairly small vendors hall to begin with, which isn't a criticism. It's a small con, but there was only like 20 booths there, so you could see it pretty easily, and there wasn't anything that interested us much, although some very cool stuff.
Oh, yeah. The one person who'd set up a little train.
Stop yawning.
I'm trying my best. I need my 2 o'clock caffeine. It's fine.
So after that, you decided to try Thrasher's Challenge.
I did. So this was a thing that was going on all weekend in the video game room, which was the video game room was being run by a chap, chap called Thrasher.
I think chap is gender neutral.
It is. It is the way I use it. It's just if I call you a spiffing good chap, I don't care what gender you are. It was running by a chap called Thrasher. And one of the things they had going was Thrasher's Challenge, which was basically you pay them $5, which goes to the charity, and they spin a wheel, and they then face you in a best 2 out of 3 competition of a random game. So I think most of the games on offer were various fighting games. I don't even remember what the one I faced them at was, because it was not one I've heard of. It's clearly Japanese in origin.
Mm-hmm.
Something or other combat. Something.
I'm not going to be able to remember it.
No. Again. And if you beat them, you get a $25 gift card. I'm unclear to what. I'm probably giving away the fact, how I did there. But
you did not expect to win this.
No, I did this as a way to do something briefly fun, give a bit of money to the charity, and that's all I really wanted out of the experience, which is exactly what I got. And again, they are a nice person.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem losing to them at a game I have never played before. I didn't even know what the controls were.
Yeah.
I was kind of figuring out as I went. I eventually figured out which button punched. But yeah, so again, fun little thing to do. Gave a bit of money to the charity. Great. No nerves.
Yeah. Again, it's a cute idea and concept of just having the person who's running the video game room have that there. I do know that somebody did win that day because I heard Thrasher asking about giving them a gift card at some point. So, But you were not that person.
No, I was not.
At all. It was kind of embarrassing.
Yep.
I think they actually let you get a move in at one point.
That is not impossible.
Yeah, it was definitely cute, and I like that it had something like that you could just kind of go ahead and do.
Yeah.
So I think after that was the first time we left?
I think so, yeah, because at that point we were like, okay, there's nothing major on the schedule. This would be a good time to check into our Airbnb.
Yep.
Which wasn't our smoothest check-in.
No, again, I've been sick. It was just kind of a hard adjustment type stuff. It was against a main road. It was another, converted Airbnb generally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a bit rough. It did wind up, I think, working for us that weekend, but it took a little while.
Yeah. Again, mostly it was just a case of you were concerned you weren't going to be able to sleep.
Yeah.
But
I did, not well, but, I did.
Yeah. But yeah, so after we did that, we headed back to the convention.
Mm-hmm.
That was when we just managed to nab a parking spot in the rear lot that time.
Yes.
We thought we might need to go to the overflow, but we managed to avoid it that time, which is good. Because again, ball gown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the thing we went back
That was the bread and water soup panel.
Oh, yes.
Which I still haven't figured out what the actual title of this game is because the description does not say.
Rad.
Okay.
It's Robot Alchemic Drive or something like that. Which is a PS2 era game with some impressively questionable translation and voice acting. Which apparently spawned a meme based on the fact that one of the characters apparently ate something called bread and water soup.
Yep.
Which, of course, people on the internet have since made and confirmed is disgusting.
Yep.
Because it's just bread in water.
If you already have that bread and water, why do you need to combine them into soup?
You don't. That's why it's a meme now. But yes. So this was basically just somebody set up a PS2 and was kind of showing bits of the game and getting the audience to say what they should do next in terms of do we improve this person's life or make it worse for comedy value? Okay, we're making it worse for comedy value. Good.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's very much an MST3K style panel where it's just basically a group of people making fun of a very kind of not great translation of a Japanese video game.
Yep. Like, I have no idea if this game made more sense in the original Japanese, but
Like parts of it, because like you control like Megazoid type robots in this game, because again, it's a I think child's wish fulfillment game where like you control robots that smash buildings and have a love interest who is like obsessed with you.
yeah.
But your love interest was there with you when you acquired the robot, but then later seems to forget that you're the person who's controlling it for most of the game.
Yeah. They also, like, their grandmother dies in the opening segment, and it's very clear. Like, so a lot of the PS2 era games had this problem where they would tell the voice actors the lines, but they wouldn't tell them any of the context, which means the actual like read frequently is bad, not because the actor is a bad actor, but just because they genuinely like. You see the word "no" written on a page, and you don't know whether that's a, no, of like vague annoyance or no,
or even just no as though you're ticked off with somebody. Like there's a ton of reasons to say no.
Yeah, you don't really know what style you're going for unless the the voice director tells you like the context. There's a lovely interview I saw with Jennifer Hale ages ago where she was talking about like one of the things the voice actors tend to have to do is a lot of like death gurgles for video games. And she was like, "Yeah, tell me exactly how I just died, so I can give you some appropriate noises for it." Because like this type of death gurgle is going to sound different from this type of death gurgle. Whereas again, back in the the 90s and the 2000s, they had a bad habit of not telling them anything.
Yeah, this game did have a bit of an issue. The panel room is small and typically tends to be crowded. I also heard some people at the con commenting that they were a bit annoyed that it didn't have a projector.
Yeah, they were using a TV screen. And it was a reasonable sized TV screen, but it was still a TV screen.
Yeah, and the room had some columns in it, so there were some seats for which you couldn't see the TV screen.
Yeah.
So the columns are structural, I'm assuming, because there's no reason to put them in otherwise.
Yeah, that was a structural column.
So that's not on them. But like a projector, I think would be more useful. It's possible the hotel just normally provides it and they didn't, or they didn't think that far ahead. And I think this was something that they actually solved based on what I saw at I think they basically took one of the TVs from the games room and put it in there last minute. It's just kind of a panic solution to that problem.
I suspect you might be right. So again, it wasn't great, but it mostly worked.
It mostly worked, and people were like game about it generally. Yeah. So, but it is hard for panels where you're watching people play games to not have a projector screen.
Yeah, you kind of need to be able to see it as well as possible. Yeah, but again, like it was at least audible throughout the room, which meant people could hear the extremely questionable choices.
Yeah, and I do suspect projector screens are one thing where like some cons probably will like include the tech with you in the price of it, others won't. So
yeah, generally speaking, I think cons have to provide their own projectors, and whether or not there are screens usually comes down to the space. Because I did notice in the main events they had a backdrop screen that just lowered from the ceiling. That's built in. That's just something that the space has.
Well, I know that you can sometimes rent from the cons or the hotel because the hotel does carry that equipment. It just costs more money to rent it, basically. Because academic conferences have that same problem, basically, where if you need a projector for your panel at an academic conference, the space is a lot more coveted. So, but this was fun. It was cute. It was silly. That's what we kind of like about FurCons.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it was a good panel to like relax and just riff on something in, and it was kind of what we needed after, as I say, like not the smoothest Airbnb check-in we've ever had.
Yeah, it was very silly, very fun.
Yeah.
So after that, we went upstairs to main events because we saw the end of the VR chat meet and greet.
Yep. It was cute. Again, neither of us are into VR chat.
I get motion sick.
And I not ever felt the need to justify the expense of a VR headset.
Apparently there's some elements you could do because I was looking into it that don't involve a VR headset, but we already have enough hobbies.
Yep. But I do know they do like full-on conventions in VR, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we did see that there, which would be interesting to do at least once. But yep. So the panel we were looking forward to after that was Tales from the Trip.
Yes. So this panel was basically just somebody telling stories about like the various weird journeys they've been on and all of that kind of stuff. And we like that kind of stuff.
Yep.
As you may realize from the fact that we record this podcast. This is the kind of panel that lives or dies on how funny, charismatic, and everything else the host is.
Yep.
This panel went very well.
Yes.
Largely because the person running it, are we allowed to say their name?
I don't. Well, they also have several different names. So the character they play, which isn't their furry name, is Mother Inferior, which is what it says on the description, and that is officially listed. So I think it's okay for us to say
That's fine. We will say Mother Inferior. We will not necessarily use any of the other names that I mentioned. But yeah, so they had very good timing. They knew which parts of their story were funny and which to highlight, and they were having a blast telling a lot of very silly stories about their travels.
Yeah. It was less about travels and more about other stuff, but that's fine.
Yeah.
It was basically somebody's stand-up comedy routine, but it was a good stand-up comedy routine. Yeah. I laughed a lot. I was flagging a bit towards the end, but that was mostly just because I think it was an hour and a half panel, and an hour and a half is a lot to listen to one person talk, especially with all the health stuff I've been dealing with. But they kept my attention, and again, we've been to bad stand-up comedy panels. This was not one of them.
No,
so
this was a good panel. Again, this person has a lot of good energy, a lot of good stage presence. We laughed.
Mm-hmm.
They were very much pulling off the routine.
Yeah, it was fun to listen to some of their stories generally.
Yeah.
And with stand-up comedy, another big risk is the type of joke that people tell isn't always the type of joke that you kind of mesh with. But for the most part, there were a couple jokes that were a little bit borderline for me, but they kept the stand-up comedy rule of mostly making fun of themselves.
Yes. So there was an extended discussion about the culture of a particular country, but it's a country they're from.
Yeah.
So, it's fine.
It's like you making fun of British people.
Yeah, exactly. Again, there's no real comparison to making fun of British people just because, again, we screwed over so much of the world that everybody's allowed to make jokes about us.
Yeah. Also, the AV team, and this was the panel where I first, I think, noticed it, was having an absolute ball this weekend.
Yeah, the AV team were kind of being dicks, but in the best possible way. Insofar as, they very clearly know this person.
Yep.
And know that, they could just play weird music cues or,
The music, I will say, added to it quite a bit. It kept me interested a lot of the time, just trying to guess what song they would play to try to match the story that they were telling.
Yep, which was frequently weird.
And they also get, I think the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year. Someone's going to come and hunt me down or something, but they were playing the Super Bowl theme a bunch all weekend.
Yep. And as I understand it, I am meant to now say, go Birds.
I guess. Delaware isn't even whatever. It's a different state. I get that it's the closest one to you and that you're too small to have your own sports team, but come on. Find something local.
What about that local sports team, eh? They sure are local. That's about the extent of my ability to talk about sport, in case anybody wasn't aware of that. But yeah. So again, this was a good panel. It was fun. It was very silly in all the right ways. And I had fun with it.
Mm.
Was that the point at which we went back to the Airbnb and actually slept?
We went back to the Airbnb. This was only 8. And then we went around to 20 different grocery stores.
Oh, yes. We did some driving around.
Because keep in mind, as I mentioned on this podcast before, I can't eat a lot of normal food. So grocery shopping is very, very fun for me in different states. So I can try different stuff because it's effectively what for other people going out to restaurants in different states is.
Yeah.
So we did that. That took us 2 hours because I wanted to go to a bunch. We got a lot of food. It was fun. And then we went home and went to bed.
So yeah. So next day was pretty simple. Got up. I think we went around 1 in the morning.
We did.
Because again, once again, it was a midday-ish start.
Mm-hmm.
Which we get up significantly earlier than that. A lot of furries don't, depending on how hungover they are.
So yeah, we went around to a bunch of different stuff. I don't think we were actually at the con until 2:30, which was late for us, but I think worked for what this con was.
Yeah. Yeah, because there wasn't even anything on until 12. Well, I tell you what, there was breakfast.
Yeah, which would have been heaving.
Yeah.
And there were a few sketchbook swap things and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Which again, if that's your thing, great. I hope you had fun. Again, we are both artistic. We're just not drawing art people.
Mm-hmm.
I like painting, but I like painting in the context of miniature painting.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a big writer. But again, all forms of art are valid.
So we got back at around like 2-ish. We were still able to park in the back lot at that point.
Yep.
And
I think we got a little lucky, if memory serves.
Yeah, probably. And then we went up to the charity raffle / auction, because interestingly, this con has both a charity auction and a charity raffle.
Yeah, so the charity auction was first?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we bought tickets to the charity raffle at that time period because we were about 30 minutes early.
Yeah.
So we did that, and I think, put $20 in or something.
Yeah.
And
I asked for $20 worth of your finest tickets.
Yep. And he was like, I don't know about finest, but they're orange. That's cool.
Yeah, so pretty standard charity raffle. In this context, $20 got you 25 tickets.
Yeah, I think I've just been spoiled by the PAF charity raffle. Like, these charity raffles give you like one thing per.
Yep. Per thing, as opposed to like 50 plush.
Yep.
So we basically put raffle tickets into a bunch of different things, because that's how you should do a charity raffle.
Yeah, this con did have a limit on you could only win one prize, though.
Yes.
Which is fair enough. There weren't a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
So
they probably didn't want somebody like buying 1,000 tickets and just kind of like giving themselves an unfair opportunity.
Well, this is one of those things. Is I do think that like this con had like, it's not that people of this con were stingy or anything, but there was a little bit less like massive charity support than there are at bigger conventions, which I think we noticed about the auction and the raffle.
Yes. So again, we put some money into the raffle, and then we went into the auction itself. Grabbed ourselves a seat. And
furry auctions are always fun because you never know, one, who's going to host it, and two, like what random stuff people are going to auction off.
Yep.
So
yeah, the host for this was the Mother Inferior.
Yes.
Who was very good at this. I want to say that.
And this was, auctions also vary a little bit on how you pay. This one was just basically, if you win something, just come up to the front of the stage and you can just pay right now, which pretty much everyone did.
Yep. And again, that was a case of, we'll show you the item, you bid on it, you get it, job done, nice and simple. So we ended up getting a couple of things, including some like nice bowls, and you got some of the, what are they called, calico critters?
Calico critters. Yeah, there was a lot of calico critters. It was like 5 or 6 different set pieces and some animals from them. And I will say, bidding at this auction was low compared to a lot of furry auctions we've been to, which isn't bad. But like we bought the bowls, I think, mostly just because no one else was bidding on them, and one of the staff members had to bid. So I'm like, let's just get those.
Just to help the charity out. Yeah, those cost like $11.
Yep. And the calico critters I actually wanted because they're like calico critters are like these little anthropomorphic animal figurines, and they come with little like set houses and stuff like that. And I saw them at a Toys R Us, like about at the time I think it was like 20 or so, and I'm just like, I was so mad because they've been around since the 1980s, so would have been I easily would have been a child when they first came out and started to make them, and I never got to play with them as a kid because I didn't know they existed. And I've been bitter about it ever since, but these set pieces are incredibly expensive, so I was never able to justify buying it because even just one of those packages is worth $30 on their own.
Yep.
So
getting 5 of them for $30, good deal.
Yep.
And there's the guy who got an original animation cell from the original My Little Pony for $50.
Yep.
Bidding was not as high as I was expecting at this event, I'm not going to lie.
Some of the bigger stuff did sell for stuff. I think the arcade, they had a miniature arcade cabinet they sold.
That went for a couple of $100.
Yep.
But again, they had a bunch of interesting stuff. So yeah, raffle was perfectly enjoyable.
Yeah, it's always fun to watch what random stuff that they have and people driving the bid prices up and stuff like that.
Yep, you won a little Kool-Aid Man plush.
That was later. That's the raffle, not the auction. We're talking about the auction.
Sorry, I've lost track.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
I need you to be more like animated with this.
Okay.
I'm trying my best. So talk about the auction.
Okay, so honestly, the thing I really liked at the auction that we got outbid on instantly, in fact I don't think we even tried to bid on it, was these 3 paintings that were like cats as if they were royalty.
Yeah, they were trying to they put that in front of me because they were like, this is how you're dressed. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. Like, I appreciate the pressure to bid, but this is going to go out of my price range instantly. I think it sold for like $200 or something eventually, which is still a very good deal for it, honestly, because they're very good paintings. But
yep.
And then a few art prints.
A few other bits and bobs, but I mean, we all know what the best item was.
The stick.
No, it was the candle.
Oh yeah. I forgot about the candles. Yeah, they had this like for whatever reason purple candle that was up there. That it was a what was it? Pizza and ranch.
Smelling candle.
Yep.
That they, as the runner was going around to show off the item, he did actually let us all sniff it, and
Yep.
we all agreed it smelled absolutely revolting.
Yeah, the person who bid on it was trying to drive the bid price up for other people,
Yeah.
and then it just landed on him. He was just like, "God damn it!"
I mean, that's what should happen with that
Yep.
candle. I really hope he like hid it in his friend's room and lit it or something. So yeah, weird novelty candles aside, again, it was a perfectly well-run charity auction. Nothing too fancy. I definitely feel like the daytime events were not that well attended at this con, relatively speaking. Like the room was maybe what, a quarter full,
A quarter full, and there were not a lot of people bidding. It still definitely raised money for charity, which is great.
which is always good, and everything did sell.
Yeah,
It's just I feel like some of it probably should have sold for more than it did.
yeah. Like the Calico Critter should have gone for more than that. And I even like overbid because I think the bid was at like 26, and I just upped it to 30, even though we were doing $1 increments. Because I'm just like, I'll give them more money. This is worth more than this. I'm excited though about that. Like I've always kind of wanted some, so it's nice to actually have some, and the money got to go to charity, which is pretty cool.
Which is always nice. So yeah. So what do we do after that? The horses panel we went down to.
Well, we walked around for a little bit,
Yeah.
and then we tried to go back to the board game room, but it was too crowded.
Yeah,
There
it
just was not
completely
enough
chocker at that
space.
point.
So then we went to the intro to horse ownership and riding panel.
And again, as we've kind of mentioned previously, fur cons, because at an anime con you can just do a panel on one specific anime that you like, or like rating waifus or whatever. Furry culture doesn't really have the same touchstones in that way, which means more often than not, the panels you get at fur cons are just people talking about the weird and interesting stuff that they're into outside of furry.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, this was from somebody who owns a couple of horses, talking about like how you do that, what the pros and cons are, like why you should be wary of anybody asking for a deposit when you buy a horse.
Yeah.
Because that's probably a scam, etc., etc., etc. But again, I thought they had a good presentational style.
Yeah, it was fun. It was informative. We obviously, I don't think, are in anywhere near wanting to own a horse. I do want to do this more than I think the other like informational panel of stuff we have no intention of doing later. But
That's fair.
it was informative. It was cute. There were cute pictures of horses that were fun. They talked about like the different aspects of it, of how you would go about like acquiring a horse or learning to ride and all of those particular things, how much lessons cost.
Yep.
There was a fun like point where you had to guess horse terminology and stuff like that. And it was cute.
Yeah. Again, they put in effort. They were doing all sorts of interesting bits and bobs.
I also forgot to mention at the charity auction, or the charity raffle part, which then led into the charity auction, we did see Lynn's again. We were not expecting to see them at this con, just because they live pretty far away, and I don't think Zays mentioned it as much. I don't think Zays mentioned that they were going to this.
No, I wasn't aware of it. So.
And as a reminder, our name policies, if you've given us permission, we're using your name. So if you've not,
then we don't.
Yes.
But yeah.
But it was cool to see them again.
It was. We had a moment of like trying to figure out if it was them or not, purely because again, like you see a bunch of people in an event and you're like, was that who I think it was or not? Like I had that happen a couple of times.
Yeah, and especially at Furry cons where everyone's in costume. Plus, they weren't wearing their trademark lipstick, which is the electric blue one. So
yeah. But no, that was nice to see them. We had time for a little bit of a chat.
Yeah.
And yeah, then we, as we said, we went to the horses panel. Perfectly fine and functional panel.
Did end a little bit early, but that's fine.
It's going to happen sometimes. Then I think we headed back upstairs for something that was on at 5:30. Memory serves.
Yeah, let me double check.
Was that when the charity raffle was?
No, that was later. So at that point, we did try to sit in the games room briefly.
Yeah. Again, no real success. It was kind of too busy.
And after that, we went and explored the hotel space for a little bit, which I think is when we figured out there were like 3 separate towers fully.
Yep, which was interesting. But that was also when we invited a hilariously fun con game.
That was later. That was after the Cannonball panel.
Oh, okay.
Or wait, it was right before the Cannonball. It was definitely after it was dark, and it would not have been dark quite yet.
Yeah.
So I think the next thing we actually did after that was we were exploring the elevator space, and then we were just looking for something to do. And they had free photography at this con.
Yep.
By it's Ears Portrait Studio, which is stylized off the concept of Sears, which I couldn't tell if they just did that because they were across from a Sears or if it's like an ongoing photography studio.
Yeah.
But I've been passing in ball gowns all day, and they had like very respectfully have been kind of trying to encourage us to get pictures.
Yep.
And we finally agreed to do it, which was a lot of fun for free photography.
And again, like nice and simple. They basically had it set up in a corner.
And there was a bit of a line.
A little bit of a line. They kind of showed you like a selection of different poses you might potentially want to do, or you could just like freestyle it.
Yeah. We, I think, just chose to do basically let them style us, which was fun. A lot of the poses were stuff where you were like climbing on top of each other and stuff, and we're like, we probably can't do that in a ball gown.
No, it would have been a bit of an issue. But yeah, so again, that was actually a lot of fun. Like I very much enjoyed that.
Okay, step up the enthusiasm.
I'm very much curious to see what the pictures look like, because again, we saw them briefly on the back of their camera, and they basically said they will be posting them. So I'm keeping an eye on their social media so I know when those go up.
Well, they like posed us and stuff, which was very, very fun.
Yep.
Because a very big problem with us at con photos is we're pretty bad at taking them and knowing how to pose.
Yep.
They also had a lot of photographers. There were like 5 or 6 different photographers there. I think just because a lot of furries have photography as a hobby, so they just set up their own studio for the weekend, which was cool.
Yeah, which was great.
They did mention they were taking a different type of photo later. I'm not entirely sure what that meant.
I believe the common parlance is boudoir.
They didn't say boudoir. They just said different type of photo. So you don't know. Maybe they just have more props.
Maybe.
We did not attend this later photo shoot that I think took place in their hotel room.
Yeah.
To be clear, this would have definitely, knowing furries, this would have been incredibly respectful and above board if this is what they wanted to do.
Yes.
And they didn't like come on to us by saying it. They were more mentioning it to the person ahead of us in line who I think was interested and we happened over here.
Yes. But again, like this group was actually like really great, really nice. Like I appreciated the fact that one of them was just like, oh, I have an idea. Googled a thing and then like showed you a picture of kind of like the pose he was thinking of, which ended up working pretty well.
Yeah, and it is interesting because it's just, I was following the directions and it says something about how bad my photography skills are that my instincts tell me to do all the exact opposite things to the things they were telling me to do. I'm like, this will look horrible. Oh no, that actually looks great. I'm just a dumbass.
Again, a lot of it's about what you have experience in. And
yeah.
Like, you and I, neither of us are that comfortable getting our photo taken. Just because, again, like we're both self-conscious about how we look.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, self-esteem issues are real and a pain in the neck. Like, again, I've told you before, there's exactly one photo of myself that I genuinely love.
Yeah.
And I can't get a dang copy because it's a photo of... short version, back when I was in youth orchestra, one day they sent a photographer around for whatever reason, and one of the photos he took was of me playing my violin with my eyes closed. I had no idea he was there, which means I actually look natural and not like I'm ridiculously tensed up, which is how I normally look in photos.
Yeah. They were posing people all weekend. I showed them showing people how to move their torsos and stuff like that. They were dedicated.
Oh yeah.
And it's so cool that it's free and they were just willing to do this.
Yeah, they were also very respectful because at one point, he wanted to tweak your arm into a slightly different spot, and he actively was like, "Is it okay if I touch you to manipulate you?" And he said, "Yeah, that's fine." And again, he reached out, he manipulated your arm into a slightly different position, and went from there.
Yeah, and I will say the line also moved fairly quickly. We got a couple shots, and then they moved on to the next person, which was nice. And I think they actually. There was so much demand for this that they came back later and did, because I think they were supposed to stop at 7, and I think they restarted after dinner time again, even though they weren't supposed to, just because of how popular it was.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
When we passed at 9, they were still doing stuff.
And then I think they moved upstairs because they were also hosting a party, I think, later that night.
Yep.
Because we saw a flyer for it, and we're just like, these guys must be exhausted.
It is worth noting one other thing that actually happened at this convention, which happened when we were taking the stuff that we won in the charity auction back to the car. I spotted somebody we knew.
Yeah. So we know this person both in and out of Fursuit, because they're, I think, associated with Anthro Ohio, because they were part of the group that was talking to us about that.
Yep.
And they were in the costume a monarch tiger.
Yes.
And as a monarch tiger, like, I had been wanting to get my photo with them at Anthrocon, but Anthrocon is huge, and I didn't, like, we both spotted each other that day, but we were just never in the same location.
Yep.
So while they were waiting for photos earlier that day, I got to we finally got to have those photos together, which I was really excited about because I was in my monarch cosplay, and it was just, I was so happy.
Yeah, you were wearing your monarch butterfly dress, which, like, it's always a winner at cons generally, but you tend to like wearing it at fur cons if possible, just because, again, the furries really appreciate it.
They love it. So I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast. Some of the furries try to claim my ball gowns as fursuits, others don't. I want to clarify, I don't care and really don't want to spark a needless internet debate about this.
Yep.
It's convenient that basically all of the stuff that would require me to be in fursuit, I don't really have any interest in doing.
Yes.
Like, I don't really want to be in a fursuit parade. I don't really want to be in a fursuit dance competition. So it doesn't really matter to me if what I'm doing qualifies as fursuiting or not.
Yes.
I really don't care. As long as you like the art, that's great.
Yep.
And if you want to call it a fursuit, you absolutely can. If you don't think it qualifies, that's absolutely also fine.
Yeah.
I get both perspectives.
Yeah. Because, again, at the end of the day, it's about what feels comfortable and makes sense for you.
Yeah, I do feel the same way in ball gowns that I think furries have talked about feeling in fursuits, where I feel like powerful and like myself, and like I have this like awesome character concept that I'm playing, and it's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the feelings that furries have. That said, I don't get the feelings of, like, massive amounts of dehydration. So there are differences I want to emphasize. So again, I don't really care what people call me when I'm in a ball gown at a fur con. If you want to call that a fursuit, that is fine. If you don't, that's also absolutely fine. I get both of those perspectives.
Yes.
So
yeah, like I wouldn't consider it, like fursuiting, but there's a reason why on one convention you put like this ball gown is my fursuit.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, the one thing I do like about furries is they're very respectful of your ball gowns.
Yep.
Like, they make a very good effort to not mess, to not step on them, to not like touch them without permission, like, because again, like, in the furry community, everybody understands that a fursuit is not a costume; it is a piece of wearable art.
Yes, and that's what I do try to strive to do, but it is different, and that's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it was very nice to bump into them and have the opportunity to get that photo that we didn't manage to get at Anthrocon.
I want to emphasize this person was not even talking to me about that debate. I have talked with people at cons about it before. Yeah. So might as well bring it up again this episode, because I'll probably have to do it again the next time we're at con.
Yep. Goodness knows when that is. The next one, MFC, MCFC.
Yeah. But I want to emphasize this. Thankfully, we're a small podcast. I really do not want to be the topic of one of the furry debate videos. Please leave me out of that. I don't need that in my life. But it is cool being the person at a furry convention that's known for ball gown looks. Like, that's fun.
It is. And we are probably starting to get a rep. Like, probably to a lesser extent at this con, just because, again, this is a long drive for us. That, like, we saw a couple of people that we knew here, but not that many.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, what do we do after that?
So after that, we did wind up taking, because at that point, one of the elevators was behind the photo booth.
Yep.
Photography area. And we're like, we haven't been up that elevator yet. Let's go up that elevator.
Yeah, let's go have a look.
So there was a problem with that elevator for whatever reason, because there's lobby and there's lower lobby, because there's two lobby floors. It wasn't going to lower lobby.
Yeah. So one of the other people who was waiting for it was like, okay, I'm just gonna go up and go up to the next floor and take the next lift.
Yeah, and our strategy when we've been going around to floors was to just go up to the top floor.
Yep.
Because if you're at the top floor, you don't have to worry about full elevators on the ride down. So we just picked the top floor. We went up there. We were just getting a look at the space, and the people who were waiting from the elevator got the next elevator up afterwards.
Yeah. So we had a slight chuckle at their expense, which they joined in.
Yeah, everyone was laughing hysterically at this.
Yeah, it was mostly just like, well, that was dumb.
Yep. And that's when we just kind of wandered down the hall. It was just another area, and we found that this had a window that was perfectly overlooking the parking lot. So we invented a new con game, because I think we were con drunk at this point. As a reminder, con drunk doesn't involve any actual imbibing of alcohol. It's just when you have happy con feelings.
Yeah.
So what game did we invent?
Parking lot.
You probably should name it.
Gambling. I don't know. We'll come up with a title at
Yeah.
some point. But yeah, this was basically just looking at the parking lot, which by this time was completely full.
Yep.
And like trying to figure out, if spots were going to become available, and like if somebody went out to their car, whether or not they were going out there just to, like have a quick smoke break, whether they were actually driving off.
Yeah, there were definitely some people out there smoking entirely legal substances.
Hey, as far as we know, nothing.
We don't. They were
For
just
one
in
thing,
their
I
car
don't
for a
know.
while.
For one thing, I don't know what the laws regarding that are in that state, because
Yep.
I don't need to. But they, were, if they were smoking, I am comfortable saying that they were probably just smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just kind of fun to watch a car park and like effectively sports commentate on it. And we had this beautiful moment when somebody had driven off.
Yep.
And then somebody comes into the car park and misses the spot. And we're just like, oh, buddy, no. Come on, you can do this. Go
Yeah,
back,
he
go
turned
back,
the
go
wrong
back.
direction. And then he turned the right direction finally. And he just got into the spot like minutes before another car pulled up and could have sneaked.
Seconds before.
Yeah.
It was so close. We were just like, you know what the problem is? At the right convention, this would actually be a really good panel.
Yeah, you just set up a live feed from one of the windows watching the parking lot. And if it's high enough up, you don't have to worry about anything like license plates on that or that on screen.
Yep.
So, and then just, for the people who don't want to do the EDM dance stuff, just have or people who need a break from it, just have a room where you can watch people commentate on the parking lot.
For like 2 hours.
Yep.
Again, would this be a really, really dumb panel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is
Would
that
it be
the
funny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the exact type of panels that furry cons do sometimes?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you are running a furry convention and want parking lot commentary, we will committedly run that panel.
We will do that because it will be very funny.
Yes. And keep in mind, if you have there's also people who could influence the feed by going out to the parking lot and moving their car.
Yeah. You can cheat, which is
Yeah.
always going to be hilarious. Again, if we did that, I think I would probably you would include prizes, like you'd make them like, if you correctly predict which car will leave first, I'll lob a custard cream at you or something.
Yeah, and I might do optional charity donations. It's not really gambling, just like you get a charity donation or you donate to charity and then you get like one of these prizes if you guess correctly.
Yeah. Which again, there's potential there to do something that's very, very silly but quite fun. Which again, that's very much our vibe.
Yeah. Oh, I think we actually did the charity raffle for them, but we'll say we did it because I don't remember when the charity raffle actually was. Let me double check.
Again, was the charity raffle not at 5:30, or am I getting mixed up?
Yeah, it was somewhere in there. As you can tell, this was a con where we were a little bit over enthusiastic about stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember what order we did things in.
It doesn't matter.
It's fine. We did that at some point. We did the photos at some point. And we also went to the So You Want to Start a Convention panel.
Yes.
We haven't talked about that yet.
I'm convinced the charity raffle was before that, wasn't it? Was the charity
It was
raffle?
definitely not before that. It was right after that.
Okay.
But I think these all occurred in order, so I'm fairly certain we did all of them because we did. So, I'm fairly convinced this is the right order because it's not on the schedule. Because we did So You Want to Start a Convention, then we pretty much immediately went to the charity raffle.
Yes.
And then we did the Cannonball panel.
Yes, that sounds right.
So after this, we actually did. I got the schedule right. I should trust myself more.
Yeah, good for you.
So we did So You Want to Start a Convention.
Yes. So this was being run once again by the Mother Inferior, who is I think they said chair, president of the board, whatever, of another FurCon that takes place in New Jersey.
Which name I've forgotten 6 times. I'm going to look it up again.
Yep. And this was just them talking about the process of starting a convention, why they started theirs.
And we knew it was going to devolve into con stories, which is why we attended.
What always happens at this event, but hey,
Plus,
we love con stories.
We love con stories, and I love convention logistics. As somebody who attends a lot of cons, so I love thinking about them. And I appreciated the went over non-profit structure and how it works, because too many people think that you can make money at a non-profit. And it is true that we work at a nonprofit. It is true that people at nonprofits can take a salary and declare it if it's approved by the people who are running the nonprofit, but it's very specific. And a lot of the revenue you're generating, you can't do anything with other than give it back to the organization. Because universities work on a similar but slightly different structure where, yes, you could take a salary, but you can't. In this con, I think it's fairly apparent no one takes a salary.
Yeah. And again, for this con, the mother inferior on this one was basically commenting on the fact that, like, they have, like, credit cards for the various cons they are part of. They do not use them for anything other than con business. Because that's a crime.
Yep.
Like, again, if you are spending convention money, and again, the convention is a charity, it better, damn well be on something for the convention.
Mm-hmm.
If you're spending convention money on something for the convention, like, stupid example, you want your convention to have a balloon arch, so you buy a bunch of balloons, and you put that on the convention card, that's great. That's what it's for.
And you can do it for stuff like giving yourself a hotel room, obviously. If you're running the convention, you need to be there. It's probably fine to put your hotel rooms on the day. And they were talking a little bit about how they're not at a point yet, and I think a lot of cons are kind of in this place where they can't comp hotel rooms for people because they're expensive.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of places want to, but it is hard to do.
It is. And a lot of them, if they can't afford to comp the hotel rooms, will at least give their volunteers and their staff early access to the hotel room block, so they can at least guarantee they get a room.
Yep.
And then open it to the rest of the public.
Yeah. And I will say this con, I'll probably talk about this in the What We Didn't Do segment, did have a full-on staff dinner for their staff at this con, which is awesome.
Again,
like, most will provide you some food, but this did a full-on, like, fancy staff dinner.
Yeah. And again, that's a thing you can, in fact, put on the charity organization credit card, because feeding your staff, that's a legitimate business, expense.
Yeah, and this is called Forget About It, which I 100% believe that this person came up with that title.
Yeah. But no, this was actually a really interesting panel. I'm glad we went to it.
Yeah, it was fun to hear about the logistics of con planning generally. We found out that a lot of cons sprung up as a result to the Nazi problem that happened in the furry con community bizarrely a few years ago around the start of the pandemic. I think we've thankfully missed most of it. I do say I still worry a little bit about us accidentally going to a, like, Nazi-based fur con, but I have a feeling we would be warned.
Yes, I suspect we would be able to notice.
Yeah.
Because we are now sort of on furry social media, so,
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of, not really.
And generally, most of them do kind of advertise themselves as being that.
Yeah.
It's such a weird community to have a Nazi problem. I think it's mostly just that everywhere else in the world also has a Nazi problem.
Yay. Ugh, stupid Nazis. Anyway, but yeah, it's mostly just a case of, it does bother me that the Nazi furries have such a good name. Like, the Third Reich is a legitimately great pun.
Well, like, this is the thing, is I don't know if they actually called themselves that or if other people called them that, because, like, I doubt any organization would refer to themselves as referring to the Third Reich as themselves, because even Nazis today, like, aren't as overt about being Nazis. They kind of try to be more covert about it, so it might have just been what other people called them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I still don't know for sure.
Yeah. Either way, as far as we're aware, we've never met a Nazi furry, and we have no desire to.
Also, by the way, I know you guys are really into your history with furries. A lot of people who listen to this podcast probably do know a lot more about the furry community than we do. We try to get stuff right, but I will fully admit that if you are a furry and you are listening to this, you probably have a lot more of an idea about furry lore and stuff than we know ourselves.
And again, if you want to email and tell us about it, concouplepodcast@gmail.com.
And if you want to come on the podcast, we will kidnap you. And put you in our car.
We will not kidnap you and put you in our car. We will record a conversation with you over Discord. Like sane people.
Assuming I can figure out how to pull the audio.
Yeah, we're still working on doing that for the PAX East episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have not had time.
No.
So yeah.
But this was a lot of fun. Yes, it was interesting to hear about the behind the scenes of conventions, hear about people talking about it, hear about incorporating nonprofits, be tempted to start a convention because, I actually am good at most of the skill sets that it would require.
Yep.
I don't want to, but, And
again, I did appreciate him, or them basically saying, here's what it's probably going to cost to put it on your first year.
Yep.
And their figure, which they freely admitted, was 18 grand.
Yep. They said
Most of which-
30,000 would probably be standard. I think they ran the first one a little bit on the cheap, which you
Yeah.
probably can do.
I think they got lucky with their hotel contract the first year.
But I have looked into this before, because of course I have, and I do think 30,000 is probably what you should assume standard operating cost.
Yeah.
And if it's lower than that, great, but don't assume it's going to be, because emergencies happen.
Yeah. And their other advice was, for the love of all that's holy, make sure you have proper event insurance.
Yep.
Because insurance really is the classic case of, it's much better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Because event attendees are occasionally going to do some real dumb stuff.
Well, they did talk about like banning people and how difficult that must be, and I imagine it must be a lot, because they're right that like most bans at cons happen mostly because people take a bit too much of a certain substance and lose control.
Yeah.
And that just kind of sucks for everyone involved. But at the same time, you're always responsible for yourself. Don't do that. The sun's in my eyes now, and the substances that you imbibe.
Yes. Which again, like, a lot of the time it's, as they said, like half the time it's just, okay, you've had too much, go home, or at the very least go to your room. And some of the time it is, you were dumb enough to throw a punch at one of the security people, I'm going to ban you.
Yeah.
And like, you're not going to be allowed back next year, the year after that, we'll let you back, but you better be on your best behavior, kind of thing. And again, I worked in a shop for a while that was, a very like community-driven shop. It was your classic small games workshop, and there was at least one person I was basically told, if they try and come in the shop, don't let them, because they are banned, because they threw some stuff that they shouldn't have been throwing, and the manager's attitude was, no, like, you're actively making it dangerous in this in this space for other people, and I don't want to have to fill out the incident paperwork.
Yeah. And it's just a hard conversation to have. So I admire anyone who runs a convention. We should probably also mention this person is called Mother in Fury because they dress in a nun costume.
Yeah.
At least I assume that's why they're called that.
Yep.
It's a pun on Mother Superior for those of you who are not, like, versed in the religions.
Yes, if you're not familiar with Catholicism.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I love panels about conventions. I've been debating putting on our own panel about conventions because there's a lot we can say.
There is.
So
as evidenced by this podcast.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say?
Mostly just this panel did also end up overrunning a little bit, just because the panelist who was in after them was running a little late, and the mother inferior was just like, hey, if nobody's going to stop me, I'm going to keep talking for a bit.
Yeah, people ask questions and stuff like that.
Yep. Some of which was kind of complicated stuff related to taxes and 501c3s. And as I understand it, most conventions are 501c3s, which I'm still not 100% sure exactly what that means, but it's a tax code for a non-profit organization, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And
there's different ones that start with 50 something. We're technically incorporated under one of those. Again, I'm not an expert on nonprofit law. Generally, I do know a little bit about it, having worked at one, and also generally I have to, as somebody who works at a university, I have to explain to students fairly frequently that the university is not for profit. No one people are paid at universities, but it's not as though any of the revenue we generate can then go to our pockets directly beyond that. Our salary is fixed. That is the amount we're allowed to take out. And if we generate more money than that, that doesn't ever go directly to us. It goes back to the university.
Like, again, I work in the admissions department. The amount of money I bring into the organization in terms of like helping get people registered for classes does not affect how much I am paid.
And people wonder where the money goes a lot of the time, but there are two things about that. One is the reason that college is more expensive now isn't actually that college is pocketing more of the money. It's because government subsidies used to make it a lot cheaper, and we got rid of them.
Yep.
That's why it costs more now. It's not because universities are being greedy.
Yep.
And two, keep in mind that the ballpoint figure for entertaining less than 1,000 people for 3 days over a weekend for a con is $30,000.
Yep.
It does get a little cheaper per day over the course of a year, but think about how astronomical that cost must be to house and feed over 1,000 people for most universities, and that's just a small one for an entire year. It's a lot. And yes, we do charge you for room and board separately in terms of stuff, but it's still an astronomical amount.
Yep. And again, for the most part, again, this is not a podcast about university funding.
It's not, but it's a subject I feel passionate about.
Yeah. But again, no, this was a very interesting, very informative panel. I'm very glad we went to it.
Yeah. Sorry to rant at you about like university stuff. It just I get frustrated with people of the college is too expensive mindset a lot. I rant to you a lot about that.
Yeah. And again, it's not on the colleges.
Yeah. No, it's not. Like, I understand that college is not the right choice for every single person, and obviously explore your options. That said, it's still the soundest financial investment you can make, and in terms of money you're going to gain back throughout your lifetime, even though it doesn't feel like it, getting a college education is actually the best and safest financial investment, and always has been.
Yeah.
In terms of the money you will make back later. Like, nothing gives you a higher return than that.
Yeah. So yeah, good panel.
Yep.
Very manic host, but in kind of the right ways. So at this point, this is when we went to the raffle, right?
Yes.
Lovely. So we headed upstairs to the charity raffle. Again, got some decent seats. And it's interesting, because the room had been set up for the
dinner beforehand.
It still just had the round tables out. They hadn't rejiggered it back to...
This was the dinner for the staff.
Yes. They hadn't rejiggered it back to standard aisle seating, which it looked fine.
It was fine, though. The raffle also wasn't terribly like highly attended either. There were a few people there, but I could tell it like, because everyone was only allowed to win one prize. The person who was drawing the tickets did redraw them a lot, so I suspect there were a few people who were like us who just gave $20 and therefore had a decent odds of winning a lot of stuff. So
yeah, which again, fair.
Yeah. Because they did say you could only win one prize, which is fair. It does seem a little bit unfair that you don't kind of get to choose what that prize is if your name is called more than one time.
Yes. So there were definitely some things towards the end where they were pulling out a name and going,
nope, this other name. And it was something for which, you don't, because the items are just pulled kind of randomly. Whichever one you win first is the item that you wind up getting, and you might want another item more, but you don't really get to like make that particular choice.
Yeah, I with hindsight, if we'd known that before we filled in the tickets, we probably would have like put
divided
mine
in half of them. I didn't even remember reading that. It was on the directions. I want to emphasize that. It's our fault for not reading it.
I did find it on the website before we actually went into the auction itself.
Oh, it was on the website? That's where you saw it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something where a lot of people wouldn't even think to check that.
Yeah, specifically it was on the event description of the raffle.
Yeah. And to be clear, it's a charity raffle. We're not really that greedy of people. I just think it might be a bit more of an enjoyable experience because, like, part of the fun of going to a raffle is just kind of hearing if your name is called. And if you win, like, the second item, then that kind of fun is taken away from you.
Yep.
Whereas if, like, you get to win and then if you win another item, you get to choose whether or not to keep it. One, that's fun because you can, like, have people think, would I keep this item or not? And then just keep the bowls on the table and redraw the next bowl. That would be a little bit more fun, I think, for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of make it an interesting, like, choice mechanic.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
Yeah, I think that would be cute and still fair so everyone would wind up getting something.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a suggestion I would make, for a tweak for next year if you want to keep it to one item per person.
Yeah.
We did end up winning a thing.
We did.
Specifically, you won a Kool-Aid Man plush.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've done some writing about the Kool-Aid Man, so it was a very fitting prize.
Yes.
So I can't be that upset.
Yeah. And again, we have no idea if we won anything else.
We don't.
Yeah,
we do know that other people's names were called and they were said, and the host just didn't read the name and then put the ticket back in.
Yeah. Yeah, there was at least one item towards the end where they kind of went, nope. Yeah, and it took them about 4 or 5 names to get to one that hadn't.
That was from the big electronic thing, wasn't it? They had a PS something or whatever.
Yeah, they had the PlayStation 1 Classic thing, which is like, it's basically the modern recreation of the original PS1 that just has a boatload of games preloaded onto it. Because again, like, old PS1 games are tiny compared to a modern hard drive, so you can fit, like 200 something games onto a single preloaded console nowadays. And again, that would have been cool.
Yeah. And we might have won that, but we didn't know.
Yep.
So again, we don't need any of this stuff. It's money for charity. It just, I think it would be a bit more fair for everyone if they at least let you like pick what prize you end up getting if you wound up winning more than one thing. Because like it's making me like I don't feel like many people. I think that's part of the reason why not many people put a lot of tickets into the Kool-Aid plush to begin with, is because they didn't want to win that over something else. And I'm worried that's like disincentivizing people from spending more money to give to charity.
Yeah.
So that said, it was cute. It was fun. It was fairly quick. It lasted 30 minutes. So.
Again, perfectly fine. It's just I think if you're going to do that limit of one item per name, you need some rules tweaks on that.
Yeah, just so it's a bit more fair, so somebody doesn't wind up winning like a Beanie Baby plush and then later gets their name drawn for like a video game system and can't win it because they already won something.
Yeah,
that's kind of lame, and it disincentivizes people from spending more money to buy tickets.
Yes,
so.
I think that's my major criticism of that. Because again, we have no clue if we would have won anything else.
We don't know. We probably didn't.
We probably didn't, but it feels like we should have, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it makes the experience a little bit less fun.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine with it just being a one item per limit rule.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would also like recommend that. I understand why they don't implement that at Wapafwa, because it would be complete and total chaos. But winning more than one item at Wapafwa like also means you have to get home a lot. Like, I don't know what Fin Doggo does. Fin Doggo was like the big whale at Wapafwa, whose name was called, I think, 3 separate times.
5.
Yeah.
If memory serves. But yeah, I'm just hoping they had a big truck.
Yep.
But yeah. So then we did the cannonball panel.
Yes, this was utterly fascinating.
Yes. So for anybody not familiar, a cannonball run is where you attempt to drive from one coast of the United States to the other. Typically, they start in New York and finish in Los Angeles. And the goal is to do it as quick as possible. The first known journey that did this was in 1903, and it took them 4 months.
Yep.
This was in a car, for the record. Nowadays, the record's, 25 hours?
25 hours, and yes, it does involve some, allegedly illegal stuff and stuff like that. I do want to emphasize, we got permission to talk about this from the host, and also I checked, and there's a Wikipedia page about this that already says all of the things we're going to say, so we're not, outing anyone.
Yeah.
And the Wikipedia page has the, legal names of the people who have the time records on it.
Well, that's the thing. Technically, unless they actually get caught speeding, the fact that they've got from one end of the country to the other in a particularly quick time might theoretically demonstrate that they must have been speeding, but there's no actual proof of exactly when and by how much.
Yeah, so there's not a place where they can ticket or label them, basically, a lot of the time.
So the fact that they were commenting on the fact that, in order to make a run, from that in 33-ish hours, the fact that you need to average 85 miles an hour.
Yeah, there's some places where it's legal to go 85, so. Yeah. And yes, that probably mathematically means that you're sometimes going more than 85, but if you don't know where that is, you can't prove that it was happened there. So.
Yeah. So this panel was actually very, very fascinating because they talked about the history of this, the various records that have been set over the years and then broken. And the difficulties that you encounter if you want to do this kind of thing. One of the big ones obviously being, petrol.
Yep.
A car can only hold so much petrol unless you modify it so the entire back seat is an additional fuel tank, which means you could drive across half the country on one giant load of fuel, then do a fuel stop where you fill both tanks simultaneously and get back on the road, ideally within less than 10 minutes, because the clock does not stop at any point in one of these runs, which means you're getting across the country in 30-something hours, and that includes bathroom breaks, stops for food, and stops for fuel. And
you don't stop for food or bathroom breaks, let's be honest.
For food or bathroom breaks. The extent of... They had a picture of one of their friends doing a shot of maple syrup in the front of the car, because that was the easiest way to get a bunch of sugar into their system as quickly as possible.
Yep, energy drinks. You can do this with just one driver, but typically most people have more than one driver, and they do switch off at gas stops and stuff like that.
Just because, again, driving for 12 hours straight is hard.
Yeah. And even longer at that point, but you're not stopping for night. And, there are races where there's a bunch of people doing this at once in competition with each other, and Some of the people here hold the current all-female team record for it, which is awesome.
That's great.
Also, I want to point out that the furry community has a lot of car people in it who are way cooler than we are.
Yes, you are.
Yes. This was, I was completely fascinated by this. It was so cool to hear about. It's not something I knew existed. It's not something I would ever want to do on any level.
Yep.
But it is something for which, like, look, there are reasons. They also pointed out there's, like, never been a fatality as a result of this that's documented, which I do believe.
Yep.
It is something for which I do get that, like, why we have speed limits, but at the same time, I do feel like most people, if we didn't have speed limits, probably would just kind of
do stupid things.
Or no, I think most of them would actually probably just drive at a speed they felt safe, because that's what happens at the Autobahn. There are some people who go 120 miles an hour at an Autobahn, but you and I probably wouldn't do that because we're just frankly honest about our driving skill level and the fact that we can't do that.
Yep.
So we would just stay out of the way of the people who are going 120 miles an hour.
We also drive a Prius, which,
Yeah, we did find out that they did one of these races with just cars that couldn't get over 100 horsepower, basically.
Which is kind of hilarious.
One of which was a Prius that I think still came in last.
Yeah, I don't clear exactly where it came, but
yeah,
I don't think it did great.
But that was fun. And they have a lot of, like, modding and stuff that they do with the cars. This was just very fun and cool.
Yep.
And they normally go, I think, New York to California. I asked if they ever went the opposite direction, and apparently sometimes they did, but it's a lot less common.
Yeah, it's mostly the people who, like, live over on that side of the country will sometimes do the run in the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
There is also apparently a run where you go from New York to LA and back again as part of a single run. The record for that's something like 65 hours.
That sounds so miserable.
That sounds awful.
Another even more miserable one is doing the entire thing as fast as you can on motorcycle. That sounds like awful. And it is something for which hearing about it's great. It's not something I would ever really want to do, just because it does seem like there are parts of it are fun, like finishing is fun, like starting it is probably fun, but there's probably a lot of tedium in the middle.
Yep.
And it's also something for which it sounds like for parts of, like, because of how fast you have the car running, you can't use any of the coolant for air conditioning, so...
Yeah. One of them had a wee bit of a case of heat stroke.
Yep.
On one of their runs. To be fair, I'm not sure if that was... I don't think that was a speed of the car. I think that was the car was breaking down.
Yeah.
And the first thing that went was the coolant system, and they just managed to, like, nursemaid it the rest of the run. But it did mean that they could not, in fact, cool down.
Mm-hmm. Which is, on top of them not running the air conditioning, that also means that the car is just baking hot because it can't cool itself down.
Yep. So, yeah. Yeah, that I suspect they reached the old fry and egg on the bonnet kind of levels of heat.
But they did break the female record, which is awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, again, this was just kind of a fascinating panel. I really enjoyed it. Like, I have absolutely zero desire to ever participate in one of these events, but hearing about it was great. And apparently, is the film just called Cannonball Run, or am I thinking of something else?
I would have to look it up.
Yeah.
I'm kind of at a place where I can be. The Cannonball is based off a film called Cannonball, where they do this. I kind of actually want to watch now.
Yep.
But I will admit, I do like road trip movies quite a bit. So, So yeah, we did that. And then I think we decided to head out with the plan that we might, because the person who was in the Monarch tiger dress was just like, oh, you should really come back for midnight. And we're like, okay, we'll think about it.
Yep.
So we went back to the Airbnb.
Yep. Relaxed for like an hour or two.
Mm-hmm.
And it was getting close to midnight. It was like 20 to midnight. It was probably about 11:30, and we was like, oh, we got to go back. We decided we were too stubborn not to.
Mm-hmm.
So you did not get back into your ball gown.
No.
You went for a slightly lower key outfit.
Because first I took, because the butterfly makeup is actually a lot on my face, so I took a shower, which was not a very pleasant shower, because this Airbnb didn't really have hot water in any sufficient capacity or water pressure.
Yeah, it was. Again, it was a basically functional Airbnb. Like, we've stayed in worse, but it also was by far not the best.
Mm-hmm.
But it was close.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're willing to pay for convenience.
Yeah. So then we basically got back to the con. This was our plan, and we stuck to it. We were going to get to the con again at 11:45.
Yep.
Stay for ball drop. Leave at 12:05 and be back home by like 12:20 at the latest. Back to the Airbnb.
Yep.
which we pulled off.
That was pretty much what we achieved.
Yes.
We did. This was the only time across the weekend where we did end up parking in the Sears parking lot overflow.
Yeah. We didn't even bother trying the regular car park.
Yeah. Like, there might have been a spot down there, but it wasn't worth even looking as far as we were concerned.
Yeah.
Especially since, again, because you were in a shorter dress, you didn't really need to. It
didn't matter as much. It was easy enough for me to walk. I was wearing my like little Lolita dress and stuff, which I did. People did still compliment me on, despite the fact that it was way less fabulous. I was wearing a coat, so it was still cool looking.
Yeah, it's a cute dress.
So yeah, it was completely heaving as we expected it to be, like major fire hazard. But we expected all of that. The EDM music stuff was going on. It took us a while to get upstairs and kind of push through people. You managed to see that there was champagne somewhere.
Yes, there was a table set up, which was the same place where they'd been doing like snacks and things the rest of the weekend, which did just have a whole bunch of glasses of. We got told it was champagne. I'm unclear whether it was actual champagne or just like sparkling wine or whatever. Like, doesn't really matter in this context. Context. Again, like, I am aware that you can't legally call it champagne if it's not from the Champagne region of France. Shut up. It was an alcoholic beverage that is traditionally consumed at celebrations. I don't care if it was Cava. Whatever it was, I'm sure it was great.
Yes.
I couldn't goddamn get near enough to that table to grab one.
Yeah, it was completely packed and crazy. The dance floor was packed and crazy. The hallway was packed and crazy. We eventually managed to amazingly, we went off to the side hallway, which was the way down to the rooms in the back of the hotel. There were like randomly 2 chairs, and I'm like, let's grab those.
Yep. And then somebody started setting up photography equipment next to us, and we were like, oh, cool. Somebody's going to be like, getting a picture of everybody at midnight. That'll be sweet. And then they told us why they were doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Which was, they were there because a friend of theirs was about to propose to their boyfriend, and they were going to capture it on camera. Specifically, they were going to do it right smack at midnight. And we were like, oh, that's really sweet. Would you like us to move? And they were like, no, you're good. You won't be in the shot. As long as if you're comfortable there, you're welcome to stay there. We're like, cool, thanks. Like, we would have happily got out their way for that if they needed us to, but they said they were perfectly comfortable with staying where we were, so we were fine with that.
So, yeah, at that point, we waited for the countdown to midnight. It happened. There were multiple furry bands playing Old Lang Syne, which is my favorite song for those of you who don't know.
Yep.
And you kissed me exactly as the ball got out.
I kissed you right smack on midnight.
And then I turned around and a person was on one knee proposing to their now fiance, I assume.
Yep. It looked like the answer was a yes.
Yep.
So, good for them.
And then some random drunk people interrupted it to congratulate them because they had no inhibition to give them a private moment, which was great.
It was.
I'm not blaming anyone. If you're choosing to propose at midnight, drunk people are going to come up to you and congratulate you.
Yeah. So like midnight on New Year's Eve. Yeah, that's a time when you do it at any kind of public venue. People are going to be hammered and are just going to want to hug you and tell you how awesome it is that you just did that.
Yeah,
it was really sweet.
It was really cute and a great way to kind of start the new year.
Yeah.
So then it was too crowded for us to even get back to the stairs to the downstairs parking lot, so we just went out the front door and around.
Yep.
And we got to see fireworks across the mall parking lot, which was very cute.
And that was the last we went to that concert. We were technically there in 2026.
Yes, we were.
It counts towards our 2026 list.
Yes.
But yeah, at that point we just headed back to the Airbnb and just kind of collapsed.
Yeah, there was technically breakfast the next morning, but we were seeing friends that day, so we weren't really feeling it. Also, my laptop died, so we got a new laptop. Thank you, Delaware, for not having to take our income or purchase tax.
Sales tax.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would, because again, your laptop's not quite dead yet, but it's still it's dying. So we figured, okay, it's time to get you a new one. You don't have to start using the new one immediately, but it's ready for when the other one does finally conk out.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were looking online and we're like, okay, we could get it delivered by Amazon and it won't arrive until Tuesday. Or because this state doesn't have sales tax, we can order it to get picked up at the store and it will be a difference of $20-$30 and we get it today. That's probably worth it.
Yeah, I don't know if we're admitting to something that's technically illegal, but we were in the state of Delaware at the time. My laptop legitimately died, so I don't really know what you want me to do. That's a reasonable thing.
We bought a laptop at the most convenient local place to us. There's nothing illegal about that. like part of the reason we did decide to do it was because of Delaware's tax laws, but that's part of the reason Delaware has those tax laws. They want people spending money in the state.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that was our experience of the New Year's Furry Ball.
Yes.
Do we have enough top 3 con moments?
I think we should probably, but I'll talk about the stuff we didn't do first for that segment. So there was a car show, because they have those.
Yeah, which I'm going to be honest, car show at a New Year con, little bit of a problem insofar as it was bloody freezing.
It was freezing and there's salt everywhere, because it's that time of year.
Like, I'm sure the people who went probably enjoyed it, but I also suspect it was a bit nippy. So I don't know how many people saw it. We didn't. Like, I'm sure it was fun, but too cold. Sorry.
Oh yeah, they were at Werewolf. They're always that at cons a lot of the time. Clicker training, which is, I'm not gonna get into details on that one, but you know,
it's a thing. Don't judge people.
Something we caught the end of, which was the analog retreat in digital or vinyl party, which is basically people bringing in a bunch of old technology and just showing them off to each other.
Which was really cute.
Yeah, we happened to catch the end of this because it was before the So You Want to Start a Convention panel.
Yep. Now and again, like, it was fun seeing, like, among other things, a reel-to-reel projector.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like multiple typewriters and all kinds of like weird and old classic tech. That was just really fun to see.
Yeah. You know, various furry meeting groups and photo shoots. That's always pretty common. Makeup panel. Pretty standard stuff. Neurodivergent panel. Building local furry community. Intro to coffee. Discussing the lore of the little Tail Bronx universe. I don't know what that is, but it seems cool. Trinket trading. And a dinner for staff, volunteers, and people who are helping out with the con. So that's pretty cool.
I think also the super sponsors could go
yes.
with that. Yeah. Which again, as with most fur cons, this had like tiered tickets. So you had like the standard entry, then you had like the sponsor and the super sponsor, which is basically if you're willing to donate. Yeah. If you're willing to give them a bunch of extra money, they'll give you extra perks. Like, the extra perks aren't actually worth the additional money insofar as like...
It's more of just a thank you for being willing to support the con.
Yeah.
And most people who are super sponsors, I think, of furry events know that they're helping keep the con going by paying more.
Yes. Yeah, which again, I am not saying that, like, you shouldn't do a super sponsor membership if there's a con you want to support. Like, we are considering doing VIP to a Catacon next year just because we really like a Catacon and want to support it. That's kind of why that tier of like ticket price exists. It's you have a bit of extra money to spend to support the con and you want to do that, and you'll probably get a few perks in response as a thank you. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anything else on the what we didn't do list?
And there's going to be a few things, but I feel like that covers the basics of it.
Yeah, also all the dances.
Yes.
We didn't do the dances.
And this was a 2-day con, so a little bit less content, but you know. Content. So top con moments?
Yep. I have no idea whose turn it is to go first after last week's episode.
I think it's yours turn.
That's fair. I'm going to go with Kissing You at Midnight.
Aww.
It's too obvious.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to pin you up against a wall to do it because that was fun for me.
It was.
And there was an actual wall available, which,
yeah.
I don't think a lot of other people got that perk.
I'll go with finally getting my picture taken with the tiger butterfly cosplay that I have been wanting to for a while.
Yes, that was really, really good. I might just go with the photo shoot we actually did with the photographers. I thought that was really good. Like, I'm curious to see the photos when they come out. Like, they told me they'll be, quote, going up on the social media for this con. I'm unsure exactly what that meant, so we'll figure it out, but I am following them on Blue Sky, so I'll keep an eye on it. Like, I'm hoping they'll basically just like post an album somewhere and they'll just put a link to it on there.
I'm hoping this isn't lame, but I'm actually going with a car Tetris game that we invented. It was just stupid fun.
No, that's fair. Like, it was silly, it was fun. Like, honestly, if we can manage to actually make it an official con panel, like, I'd love to do it. It's just because the only two options are to either have a bunch of people stood outside in the car park or like overlooking the car park from a window, or we have to set up some kind of live stream.
Yeah.
Like, it becomes a bit of finicky one to arrange, but it would be funny.
It would be funny.
So yeah. And my last one. trying to think of a good one. I might actually go with the challenge I did.
Oh, yeah.
Now, granted, I got absolutely hammered to a kind of embarrassing degree, but I had fun with it. So.
I think I'm going to go with the, like, water in soup panel, just because that was just weird and silly and fun.
Yeah, it says something that I was watching this panel and was like, I kind of want to replay Deus Machina Demon Bane, because it's basically the same narrative setup, except it doesn't suck.
So, with that in mind, would we go back? And as a reminder, this is our like con ranking system that's not entirely subjective because it's entirely localized to us.
Yes. So, main issues why I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's a long ass drive. Like 6-hour drive is a lot for a con.
Yeah.
Two, I'm not a fan of the hotel. I really think the hotel was very borderline on actually making this event work. And I think if they had even like 10% more people, I think they would have been bordering on dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what you think.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see one if they even can, because again, if the contract didn't go well, they might not be invited back, which is always a question at FrayCons. I should probably also mention that there were obviously a lot of room parties we also didn't go to, some of which were advertised, though.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing for me is just right now there's not really a space at the con to like be like they do have a comm room, which we admittedly didn't spend a lot of time in, but it's still very, very small, and there's just not really a space for anyone who doesn't have friends or isn't staying in the hotel. And like, this just isn't a con that I can stay at the hotel at with my disability. It's going to be too loud, too crowded. It's not going to accommodate what I need, and that makes the convention in general pretty hard for me to attend or be able to do any of the late night stuff at.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's with the combination of the drive and the hotel, I would say no.
Yeah.
If they move to a different hotel next year, maybe.
Maybe if there are people we know better whose like room we can crash in or something like that, maybe like it's not like a permanent no. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad con. I think it's good for what it does. It's definitely fun. It's just I'm not sure it's going to quite service our specific con needs.
Yeah. Like, I'm glad we went.
I am too. It was very fun.
And again, like, we freely met. Part of the reason we went to this con was because a friend of ours lives near there, so it was a good opportunity to see them on New Year's Day.
So yeah, we're actually driving back a day late because we saw them yesterday and just hung out with them, and that was honestly awesome.
Yes.
So yeah, it's an interesting con. I'll definitely keep an eye on it for next year. Plus, I will admit we might just wind up going back because there's just not a lot of New Year's cons. There should be more.
There should be more. But as you pointed out, like, cons on New Year's are probably, or hotels on New Year's are probably expensive.
Yeah.
Like, we very much enjoyed Doki Winterfest when we did it a couple of years back. But the main reason they did that was that actually, New Year's fell over the weekend that time. Whereas I don't actually think that matters because like everybody's gonna have New Year's Eve and New Year's Day off.
Yeah. Yeah, most people do.
Yeah.
And I know it's like family or whatever, but a lot of people don't care about their family, A, and B, like, at least here I think like culturally Christmas is the family holiday. New Year's is definitely the go out with friends and party holiday.
Yeah,
so
I would agree with that as an assessment. Like, back in the UK, like Christmas was the day when my grandparents came around to our house, and New Year's was the day when my parents and I went around to my grandparents' house. But that was because my parents don't have friends.
That's fair.
Seriously, I love my parents to bits, but they're not great at making new friends. Which means that, like, they have the friends they made in university who they basically never see. My mum has some former work colleagues, and that's about it.
But again, that's why we should have invited them to this con.
Again, that will be kind of throwing them into the deep end, honey.
Yeah, Chico, wow. I'm definitely con tired.
Yeah, so am I. I'm going to have some more caffeine in a minute once we finish up recording.
So we do know with some degree of certainty, although not complete certainty, that we're likely going to Anime Zap next weekend. Which is thankfully at least 10 days from now, like 9-ish days as opposed to, actually it's basically just a week, isn't it? It's fine.
It's basically, it's a week from today.
But it's a lot more, I don't know. It's Friday right now, so we'll at least have some of the weekend to decompress. We are, in theory, seeing friends on Sunday.
Yep.
But,
We'll see if that works out, because like, we were originally supposed to be seeing them last Monday, and then they got sick.
Yeah.
Which is why we ended up shifting our plans and going down to Delaware a day early.
Which I'm glad we did.
Yeah, it ended up working out.
Plus, we got to see snow geese, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun's in our eyes now as it's getting kind of low, so we should probably sign off.
Yep. So, yeah. At this point, I think our honest assessment is this event was fun.
It was.
I'm glad we went, but I don't think we'll be going back if it's in the same hotel, unless there's like some particular big draw for us.
Yeah, and I don't think we quite experienced the con magic at this one. The con magic is just that high special feeling where like I love cons and want to go to the next one. I didn't quite get to quite that level there here. Which doesn't mean it's a bad con. It's just not quite one that suits our needs right now. And it might be again someday.
It might be someday. And again, like I'm glad they're trying new things. I'm glad they're trying to like expand and add paneling and all of that stuff, because previously they have not had paneling.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely feel like you can tell this is the first year they have paneling, because they definitely had some like first year troubles. You know, like the stuff with the projector and you know, like figuring out exactly where panels should be and all of that stuff. Like it's stuff that takes practice. Yeah,
and I do think if this can grow reasonably and be put in a better hotel, like I do think this could be a fantastic New Year's event. That could, like,
absolutely.
You know, if done correctly, I think it could rival because all of the other. So Midwest Fur Fest is the only other big one that happens this time of year in the furry community, and it's a few weeks earlier. But having a New Year's Fur Con that, if it could scale correctly, would be, I think, a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, again, it's mostly just that the specific things that at the moment it's not doing great and needs like a little bit more time and practice to get sorted out are kind of the things we want from it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because again, like neither of us drink. Or well, I drink, but only if you are. Or well, I am a social drinker. I only drink alcohol if other people are. You can't.
Yep.
And anytime I need to drive home, obviously I am stone cold sober. So.
And we have gotten better about room parties in the past year, but it's still something that's a bit difficult, and I can't really wear a ball gown to do it. So, yeah, some limitations there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad we did this. It was definitely very fun. I hope they continue to expand and grow, because I do think if they continue to expand and grow in the correct ways, this could be another really fun con to go to. Because I do think we need more New Year's cons.
I would agree. Again, we'll keep an eye on it for next year. We'll see, you know, what it's doing and all of that jazz, and we'll make a decision then. So it's not a hard no, it's a maybe, but we'll see.
And in fairness, a con that was this far away was always going to be a maybe.
Yeah.
So,
because again, like this time last year, we were still in the UK. You know, so and that is.
And we hadn't started the podcast yet either.
Yeah.
Also, people have been asking us this or when I say people, I mean like one person. People have been asking us about next year if we're going to like review the same cons again. And as you can see from the spreadsheet, yes, likely we will be reviewing some of the same cons again. But keep in mind, cons change every single year, and we do different stuff every single year. So
there will always be things to talk about.
Yes, and probably new things to talk about and changes. And I do think I have a couple new cons on the list also. So Anime Zap, for instance, which we're going to next weekend, is entirely new.
Yes.
So
yeah, we will see how that goes. Okay, so I think it's time to sign off.
All right, bye.
So thank you very much for listening, and we hope to see you next week for the first fully 2026 con, which will be Anime Zap.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Bye all.
Bye.